Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I am your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels. Today we are assembling one of the big, sort of notorious boxes out there, at least one of the most notorious models in the box it's from. That is the Von Schill Core box. Yeah, we're doing the steam trunk. Alright, the box contains 6 miniatures. Von Schill himself here. The totem, the steam trunk, our notorious model. Arik Schottmer, honestly, possibly a harder build than the steam trunk, as far as like actually getting things to orient and go in correctly in the right order and all that other stuff. At least that's my personal opinion. And then 3 Freikorpsmann, this being one of them. Possibly the only army-looking army box in this entire game. Well, keyword anyways. That's our artwork. Here's the back, Von Schill, sporting his brand shiny new metal leg and arm. Thank you, Rasputina. The steam trunk, a model that should not have fit on a 30mm base. Arik here, the actual 40mm base in the box. And then the 3 Freikorpsmann. Alright, now let's look at our sprues. Our sprues are a bit of a mess, and I will explain why. So this one is Von Schill and a Freikorpsmann. The reason that they are on their own sprue is because they are actually the new miniatures in this box for 3rd edition. There was a different one of Von Schill, and then he lost the said aforementioned arm and leg, and so we needed a new model for him in 3rd. And then we only had 3 sculpts for Freikorpsmann, so we needed a 3rd. Hence these 2. Everything else is on old sprues, the old round sprues, which gives you an idea of their complexity and their difficulty to build. So this is our, just the totem itself. 1.5 billion bits. I'll count them at some point. But all the difficulty is figuring out where things go. So after this assembly video, I don't think it would be as hard to assemble as Arik. But I could be misremembering Arik anyways. But here's our 2 Freikorpsmann from the old sprue. And then Arik used to be sold separately, so he's also on his own special little sprue. Although he was the strong arm suit back in the day. The interesting thing about him is he has 2 different ways you can put his legs. So he's got some specialized bits. So you will not be using everything on this sprue. Feeling quite long-winded today, but let's start with one of the easier things, the Master Von Schill. Let's look at his instructions first. Okay, not a whole lot going on here, which I appreciate. We can spend a lot of our time on other minis. We'll grab the body, C1, and then first do the fleshy right leg, C7, followed by the mechanical left leg, C6. Then we'll go ahead and add the fleshy left arm, C1, and then add the mechanical arm, C2, which will rest its gun in the hand of C1. After that, we'll wrap up with C5 on his back, and then his head, C4. Alright, C1, we'll flip him over and add C7 in this entire area. Okay. Looks fine. Now add C6 right in here. Okay. Next, we will go ahead and get his arms done. Mind do C1. Wait, this was C3. I called it C1, my bad. C1, the left arm, and then C2, the right arm. C1, going to go right in there. There we go. As long as the arm is within the shoulder pad, should be fine. Don't want it bulging out. Okay. Now, our right arm, which will also connect to this big hole in his tummy. Okay, seems look great. And it's fairly even on whatever he's holding, possibly a clip of some kind in the left hand. Alright, let's do our last bits. The knife back here, and then the head. There's C5, the knife, and C4, the head. All right, there would be one completed Prussian. Let's get him on a base. We have completed Leopold von Schill. He is a relatively easy mini, especially since he is a 3rd edition mini. Although I don't recall his 2nd edition version being all too difficult either. Hardest part for him was really the left arm was just a little fiddly, and getting it to align with the gun was the closest thing I had to a difficulty with this model, but there's plenty of difficulty coming up. Alright, let's do this. The needlessly complicated steam trunk. Yay! Alright, here we go. The big one. The one everyone's, I'm sure, actually here to see. The steam trunk. The many pieces. Actually, let's go ahead and pop up the instructions first. Okay, 35 bits on a totem, which I think might be the most. Hannah is also up there, so Freikorpsmann carrying around the models with the most bits. Alright, okay. So you look at the instructions, we can basically do this in sub-assemblies. We can do the stuff, and the order we're going to do them is the stuff in the trunk, the actual trunk body itself, the trunk lid, and then both of the tracks. So alright, let's just go over right now what we're going to do with the stuff inside of the trunk first. This is our base that we're looking at. Better to look at it here. You see, we already got some stuff on there. After we clip that out, first thing we're going to do is grab this, which is sort of part of a Freikorpsmann suit, and we'll add the helmet to it. And then once both of those are on, we'll attach it onto this big stud right here. And then after that, we'll grab this sword, which will attach to the base, I believe, possibly right there, and we'll also attach to the back of the strong arm suit. Once we have that done, we're going to go over to the other side of the bit. We're going to do the blade that goes to this hilt right here, which is this bit. After that, I have no idea what this is, but that's going to go in sort of on top of it. There's 3 holes you can kind of see here. And we would do the hook, but I think the hook is slightly easier to put in after we get the rest of the body on around this piece. So we'll save the hook for later. So we'll grab this bit. Actually, we'll just combine these two and then attach them to this. Those are our first 2 steps. Here's the bit of the Freikorpsmann suit, plus not entirely sure what this canister is, but our helmet is just going to go right here. Okay. Just check our seam on the neck, make sure it looks fairly good. Now we are going to attach it. See that nice little hole there? That is going to go onto this peg right here, and I believe the mass is going to be more or less looking in this direction. Okay. There's only one way it can fit on there and not be like spilling over either side. So just rotate it until it fits in. Alright, next is the sword, which is the pommel is going to fit right here, and then I think the handguard, part of the handguard will fit right here, and it's just going to be pointing up in that direction. Okay, make sure it's pressed down on the 2 connection points here and there. Yeah, that's the angle we're looking for. Okay, next is going to be the blade of this knife. You see the hand right here. And that is going to be, I guess we can look at the bits again. No, it's upside down. Okay, here is the blade, and then after that we will do this piece. I spent way too much time on trying to get this perfect, but then I remembered that the lid is going to be mostly shut. You're barely going to be able to see inside of here unless you decide to build it with the lid like sticking wide open. Even then, don't worry too much about getting this blade perfectly straight in line with the handle. You just want to make sure that it's curving this way so you don't cover up this connection point in here. Mine looks good, and I'm not going to fiddle with it anymore because it'll drive me insane. Alright, so our third arch piece thing, maybe that sort of looks like maybe the end of a crossbow or something, I don't know. It's going to go in these 3 connection points. It'll be sort of leaning that way, so it'll be the shorter loop, and then the middle part, and then the longer loop going in here. Okay, there it is. I really have no idea what it is. It's a thing. Maybe a pickaxe. Yeah, maybe a pickaxe. Okay, so that's all the stuff inside of the trunk with the exception of the hook, which will go in here. But let's first build the rest of the box, okay? All right. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 walls of the box, and the bottom. To clip out the bottom, and we'll grab this one right here, which has this nice little rope to indicate what side of the box it is. So we'll add that to the bottom as well as this piece. You can see the rest of the rope. So now we have 2 walls next to each other, and then we'll add in our stuff we just worked on, and then we will do the other wall, the long wall, and then the last shorter wall, and then we'll do the hook. All right, so let's cut out these 2 first. Okay, I don't think the sides matter, as you can attach the long side to either of the long sides of the bottom, but focus. If you look, you can see that there is a slight slope going up this way on either side. If I flipped over, that slope would be going down instead. It's upside down right now, so we want it like this. One sec. Really hard to get the camera to focus, but then we can take our long side that we cut out, and our connection point is going to be right along here. This part is going to be invisible to everyone. It's going to be underneath the stuff, so it will effectively connect like that. All right. Connected, looks nice and smooth on both sides. So let's quickly now add the short side that we clipped out right here, because it also has the rope right there. Okay, that looks good. Make sure it is as flat as possible on the bottom here. I'm going to do a little bit of adjusting to fill in that gap, but you want it to be nice and smooth without any ridges. And then, once you got that, we'll add in the stuff. Now, this side over here will be the Freikorpsmann suit we had. The hook will be on this side, the wall we haven't attached yet. Okay, that looks pretty good, but it might be at a weird angle, so we're going to put in this far wall very quickly. Oh, also, you know if you did it wrong because the piece that all the stuff is sitting on has these grooves to fit these tanks right here, so it will not fit in if you put it in backwards. But let's go ahead and do the other wall, and long wall, and then the short wall. All right, here's the other long side. Looks nice and smooth on the bottom. No problems here. You can look in there, it's sitting nicely on that little ridge. So let's do the last side. All right, we've got one whole box. Also, you can see the pants. I'm going to say these are pants. Also has a connection point on the inside, so this would look very, very wrong if this was flipped. Okay, now let's go ahead and do our hook. It's going to go right in there, and it's going to, hook outside of the box. Okay, there we go. All done with the box. Now let's work on our lid. Reference, our lid is going to be, the top of the lid is going to be this. You can see the wood part, that's going to be the part we can actually see. And then we've got 4 sides to it, 2 long pieces, and then 2 short pieces. I do not think they actually matter which one goes on which side. It will matter when we end up putting it on the box. But let's go ahead and grab this piece. Then we'll do this one. We'll do both sides, and then the non-lock side, because you can see the little lock right there. Alright, doing some dry fitting, I have some news. One, there is actually a particular side that each of the long edges, long walls are supposed to go inside. And it's really hard to tell, it just feels different enough, and one settles in to one side better than it does the other with enough, with enough confidence, I can say they're supposed to go in on specific sides. But if you do them the other way around, I don't think it's going to matter much at all. So the side with the lock is going to go here. So we'll add that next. But something I'm going to tell you to do now, and I don't usually have to say this, but this is an old kit, and it kind of it's rough sometimes. I think some of the older kits didn't go together as well as they should have. But we're actually going to do just a little bit of scraping, specifically right here on this edge, and so that's going to make it settle in to the side of the box. So if I did this now, there's that, you can maybe kind of see there is a gap there, and it can't slide close enough to fill that gap without it going like down or messing around. But if we just trim that a little bit, should allow it to fill in that gap of the seam. But anyways, let's do our long side with the lock right there. Okay. There we go. It's on. Now, as far as scraping goes, goodness, it's kind of hard to tell that I've done anything, which is good. But I guess we can compare it to this piece. Yeah, you can see just a little bit's been taken off. But yeah, I do the scraping before you actually put this side on and do dry fitting to a point where you're satisfied with how close that seam is. But now you can glue this on. The short sides don't matter as far as I can tell. Alright, the other side of the box. The short side of the box is on, so now we can do the other long side. There we go. Just treat it real delicate. Make sure you don't put too much force anywhere on the bit. Just gently squish things into place. Now let's do our last short side. Again, scrape it before you get to this point. Okay, there is our fourth side. Just a lot of squishing and waiting for it to sort of melt to a point where you can squish it into place, sort of force it in, if you will. But just be careful, you don't rip off any of the sides accidentally. And if you're worried about which one should look better, I would say this side should look prettier just because it's the one that's going to be up and open compared to this side, which is kind of sort of hidden. Anyways, we're done, thankfully, with the lid. So now we can talk about attaching it. There is no specific way it's supposed to glue to the edge of the box. There's no hinge or anything. It kind of sucks that way. So it's really up to you how open you want it to be. I usually go for about kind of like that. But you can be almost all the way closed and have it glued to the top of that sword, or you can have it all the way open like this just to show off all the stuff inside of it. Some people don't even put the lid on and just have all the stuff out in the open. Really up to you. I'm just gonna shoot for what's on the box, more or less. Which is what I would say, but at some point this does need to be painted, so this is one of the few times where I'd say, while and most of it's not going to be visible, I think being able to get some layers of paint inside of here without worrying about the lid of the box is going to be worth attaching this after the fact. Again, don't go into too much detail with your painting because you're not going to be able to see most of it, but yes, paint it first and then attach the lid. I'll do something to get it on there for the final reveal, but yeah, let's just keep them separate for now. We can work on our tracks, which are the lion's share of the bits. Here we go. Now the fun thing is that they are more or less interchangeable. You're not going to worry to screw up by accidentally using the wrong set of wheels. The thing that is most important on these wheels is that you see little notches cut into them. You need these to match up with its opposite. So while these are opposite a bit, they aren't necessarily the same one. See, this one goes almost halfway around the circle, whereas this one is just on the top, And these two look like they match, but if you actually glue them together, they're not going to line up. So this one would attach with this one. This one would attach with this one. This one would attach with this one, and these two would actually connect to each other. If you look at the other side, you can see that they are exactly the same. So it doesn't matter which side you put them on. What's important is that this groove lines up. And I'll show you once we're done, but I'm going to do these one at a time. However, these guys over here, the smaller wheels, which will fit in the smaller, narrow part of the tracks, do actually have a side with detail and a side that does not. So these sides are the ones that have to be facing outwards. So what we're looking at is two of these big wheels, one with the notch cut out of the top and one with the longer notch, one of these wheels, and then one each of the bottom tread, top tread, and curved tread. All right, one sec. All right, our order of assembly is going to be as such. We'll go and do the left track and the right track, and the only difference is these small wheels. So the rest of the bits don't really matter as far as left versus right. So we'll just go ahead and grab the top one, which is this is our bottom track. We'll grab our bottom track first, and then the a wheel with the longer notch. So we'll go ahead and assemble this bit and this bit, and then we will attach it to the bottom alongside the shorter curved piece. So those three will kind of go together at the same time. We'll then go ahead and attach these two together to make the middle wheel, which will also attach to the bottom piece, followed by the, let's see, we're doing the left. I actually marked these off, hooray me. It's actually going to be this bit and this bit, I believe. I will let you know if I'm wrong. We'll combine those two. We'll attach it to the very front of the track and then put the top on afterwards. All right, so grab this bit first, and then we're going to assemble this bit and this bit, this one, and then attach both those to this one. Okay, you combine the first wheel, you can see the ridge that runs all the way down is matching. Got to do this, otherwise it's going to mess up the rest of the track. But all right. Now we can see that little notch. That's more or less telling us that this is the bottom of the wheel. And so we can just now attach it to our track. Here we go. Here's the track. You can see there's teeth on it. That is where wheels are not going to be. So this will sit like that. And then the smaller track piece will connect to both the wheel and the other piece, kind of like that. And you see this little notch in the track on the inside. That's going to go on the top, like that. And a one. Okay, you see how that sort of track completely disappears. There's almost no gap there. That's what you want. From the other side for funsies. All right, our other wheel that we assembled is going to go right there. Let's combine that first. And remember, this groove is going to go on the bottom track. Don't forget that. Okay. If you look at the track, you really want to make it look like the notching continues underneath the wheel. So that's where you want it to sit. All right, our smaller wheel. Now let me see if I guessed correctly on that. I'm guessing that it is these two pieces. Yeah, I got it right. Looks good. All right, you see this little notch on the inside? That is basically where the two treads are going to meet. So you want this sitting right on top of the inner tread right here. And obviously, we want the side with the rivets or nuts, bolts, whatever, to be facing this way. All right, you can see that notch, that tooth, whatever, sitting on top. Now we should just be able to take our top tread and glue it right on top. You see this little bar here. that is not on this side. This is towards the back. So it's going to sit more or less like, well, I gotta fix the wheel, but like that. Great, there we go. And the back side. But now we can just add it to our box. You see these dots on the side? That is just where the nubs of the tread are going to go, the top tread specifically. And as far as which side is which, this is the back of the box, and this is the front. So it will go on kind of like that. Let's just do the other tread first, and then we can add both of them on, and that will allow us to make sure it is balanced. Okay, you know what? This video is already going to be long enough, so this is all we have left on the sprue. It's going to make up the entirety of the right tread. Just do exactly what I did before. Just go back in the video. Just make sure that the rivets on the smaller wheel are facing the right side now, okay? Okay, let me do that real quick. And like that, we have a right tread. Okay. There is exactly enough of these nubbins on the side of the tread to fit into the side of the box. So next we're going to attach the tread to the side of the box, right along those bumps. Kind of like that. Now do the left tread on the left side. Okay, here it is attached. And it's looking very similar to the left side, the right side, sorry. You can glue the inside of the wheels to the side of the box if you like. Makes them tilt ever so slightly inward, but it's a much secure connection, so go ahead. I think you should probably do that. Anyways, make sure it'll sit on a base just fine. Yes, it's supposed to fit on a 30mm. I'm still not entirely sure how. Glue it down and attach your lid how you see fit. I realize the hook will not let it close. Neither will the sword, so if you do want to just put the lid on top of it, then do not have these bits in there. But I'll go ahead and attach it just so that it looks nice, and then we will review it. Steam trunk's done. A lot of the difficulty lies in just how much of a slog it is, and if you didn't know where bits went, because the instructions can only show you so much. Hopefully this video will make it a lot easier for you, with the exception of that lid and having to shave those pieces off. But the lid looks good. My lid looks great. So the tiny pieces that go inside of the steam trunk, also a bit difficult just because of their size. And that just means they're going to be slightly fiddly to get into place. But I managed to do it. You can manage to do it. Just a good set of tweezers really, really helps. Right. Oh, Eric's not going to be any easier, is he? All right, let's move on. Here's the strong arm suit, and I realize I've got none of my supplies. There we go. So the interesting thing about Arik is that it is one of those few models that has options. You have one where he is standing up in sort of a mid-run pose, and the one where he is crouching on the ground, possibly doing some kind of superhero landing thing. To distinguish the two different pieces, or sets of pieces you'll need, they are marked A and B. So we turn like this. The standing pose is going to be the A one, so here is the pelvis, here is the right leg, the left leg is here. And then lastly, there is a cable here that goes around the leg to one of his hands. They are different because the different poses mean they have to go in a slightly different path. So for the crouching one, we have B, the B pelvis, the two B legs, and then the B cable. I'm going to go ahead and do the crouching pose because I've already done the standing pose. I can show you what that looks like. Actually, we'll just go ahead and assemble both of them, but the end pose will be the B crouching pose, okay? So let's start with building the two different bottom halves of Arik. We'll start with A and then do B, all right? So let's look at his instructions and then do A1, A3, A, and A2. Here is A1, the pelvis for standing Arik. This is the back. You can tell it's the back because there's this groove here for one of the tubes that we will eventually attach to him. And you can't mix these pelvises up because the standing one actually has the teeth here for connecting, while as the squatting one does not have these grooves. So let's add A3, the right leg. All right. Now we go ahead and do A2, the left leg. All right, that is Arik's standing lower half. We can set it down. And then we'll go ahead and do his crouching lower half, starting with B1, the pelvis, B3, the right leg, and B2, the left leg. All right, here's B1. Again, that's the backside because of the groove for the tube. Now let's do B3. Whoops, drop this. The right leg. Okay, it's pretty solid. There's not going to be a ton of wiggling despite not having a connection tooth like the last one. Let's do B2, the left leg. All right, there's his squatty legs. Just set them down on a flat surface to make sure both the feet are on the floor. And we can call him good. Now let's start the construction of his body. That's going to go normally regardless of which side you choose. We'll actually construct the big tank on his back first, which is these two bits, as well as these two end caps, and sort of a valve and like a steam release thing or something, possibly. So we'll do those 6 bits next. Alright, this is the part that we'll glue into his back, so we're looking at the front of the tank, so we'll go and flip it over and do the other sort of half of the tank. There's only one way these two will connect. You can see these 4 little outlets on the bottom and the 4 here on the bottom, so they'll just go in like that. Alright, here they are combined. Now as far as our end caps go, you can see the connection point is big old C here on the inside. That one is pretty big, and then this side, it's almost only half of the circumference of the circle. So that's how you identify which one of these is which. So you can see this one is bigger, so that will have to be on this side, which is, in this case, the left side of the tank. And then this one is not nearly as big, and that will go in on the right side of our tank. So let's do the left side first. And just make sure that this hole lines up. That's our left side, and now let's do our right side. All right, that's the right side in. And again, just make sure this lines up well. Now as far as our valve and little steam release vent thing, whatever, you can see this connection point is circular and this one is square, so there's no messing it up. The valve handle thing will go in here, and then the release bent piece will go in here. So let's do the valve. So just to be sure, this is the piece I'm talking about right here. This is what will connect to the tank. And then over here, this piece will connect right on this part. All right, just make sure it's looking straight up and not wobbly at all. Now let's do the other bit. Sorry, I had the tank upside down. These little 4 outlets are supposed to be on the bottom, and this is supposed to be pointed vertically, so this is how it's supposed to look upright if we're looking at Arik from the front. We're all good with this, so now let's go ahead and work on his body. We've got torso here, as well as a head and a small little piece. Let me find it on the sprue. Give me 1 second. This guy right here, which is going to go into his mouth. If you look at old-timey gas masks, you'll see that he has this sort of egg thing on the front. That's what this is. After that, we can do the part of the tank that connects to his mask. So this will go on the tank, and these will go on the sides of his mask, like right here and right here. Then once we're done with that, we can do the right arm and the left arm. All right, so let's grab the torso first. All right, here's our torso. Now jam the head in the head hole. He's going to be hunched over pretty far, so that's why his head is sticking straight up. Now we'll go ahead and add that weird mouthpiece thing in his mouth. I install it where it's ever so slightly curving downwards. It's barely noticeable, but there is a slight curve to it. If you don't want to put it in, don't put it in if you think it looks a little too weird. Alright, now let's jam the backpack on his back here. Okay? Okay. That is it's being attached. This is the top. You notice how where the release thing is pointed up, and this is where our next piece will connect. The thing that has the tubes that go to his mask. Remember, one's supposed to connect right here next to the mouth thingy, and the other one's supposed to connect here next to the mouth thingy. So use the tubes as your guide for how this is supposed to settle in back here. The bit in question, I guess I can point it out, is this one. Right? Tubes line up with the small patches on his cheeks, and the end sort of tank thing is flush with the actual tank. Okay, let's do ourselves some arms. The closed fist is going to be our right arm, and the open hand is going to be our left arm. Closed fist of the right arm, open hand of the left arm. Also, left arm will connect to the tank. There was the notch there that is filled up with the left arm now. Okay, now this is where you put on your legs of choice. I'm going to go ahead and put on the squatty legs. Okay, there we go. Yes, it's good to reference the waist and make sure there isn't any super gaps. But the important thing is that the groove on the butt, the pelvis, this thing right here, this needs to more or less line up with the third outlet. Because the tube's going to go right along here up to his arm. The standing one doesn't have this extra curve on the leg because it doesn't need to, but that's the critical thing. So now, tube positioned is pretty important, or order in position. So give me a second. So we're going to do the two tubes for the left arm because both they are the same regardless, and also they both appear to go underneath the a tube that goes to the right arm. So the first one we're going to do, and the first outlet of the four on his back, is this one. The part that is connecting to the tank is this end. The part that connects to the hand is this one. The hands have two spots for the tubes, and there is sort of a logic to how they go. These two outlets go to the outer part of the hand, the part that is closest to the pinky finger. So this one will go here to this hand, and the second one will eventually go to the outer connection point of the right hand. And then these other two will go to the inner part closest to the thumb. So the third one, which is the second tube we will do and will connect along here, will go right here to the inner connection of the left arm, and then number 4 outlet will go to the inner connection of the right arm. And last but not least, this one we will do probably last. That is going to be the tube that is different depending on which legs you're using. I don't think there is any connection point on the right leg for the squatting legs. But if you are using the standing legs, there is a connection point for that tube right here, so keep that in mind. All right, so let's first do this swirly kind of tube first. This is probably more of a cable than a tube, sorry. But this end will connect to the tank, and this end will connect to the hand. Use the instructions as a good reference. All right, here is our twirly cable going up through here and attaching there. I believe you can glue it to this sort of big bulge, pokey, brevet thing, whatever. I'm losing my mind. It took a lot of fiddling, but I would suggest gluing it here first, making sure it's nice and sticky and going to hold still, and then you gently nudge it into place here, and then you wiggle it so that this part is as flat as possible up against this output, and same here. Okay, now let's do would be the third one here, which will connect on this part of the butt, and then go into here on the hand, and that tube is going to be this guy. this is the end that will be gluing into the tank, and this is the end that glues into the hand. And there we go. Doesn't quite perfectly follow the groove on the butt, but that's probably just small discrepancies in how I built it. The most important thing is it's attaching here and it's attaching up here. So we are done with the cables on the left arm, and we can now do the cables on the right arm. Let's go ahead and do the one that is universal, which is at this point is just going to be the one that doesn't have an A or a B label. This guy. I think it's going to be this end which connects to the tank, and this is the end that connects to the hand. This will be the number 4, so it will be attaching to the inside connection point on the right hand. All right. Another situation where you just make sure that both ends get stuck to the spot they're supposed to, and then do plenty of nudging. Get them nice, flat, and flush against wherever they connect to. I think I just knocked that out of place. Whoops. Yeah. Well, I'll fix that, and then we can go ahead and do the last tube, in which case for us is going to be B4, which will connect here, go around the leg, and then connect to the outside connection point. Yeah, let me fix this, and then we'll get started on B4. Yeah, definitely wait for your plastic cement to cure. You shouldn't rush these. I've been rushing because I'm dumb sometimes. I'm going to let this get a little bit more solid, then I'm going to go ahead and do B4. And for B4, I think this is the end that connects to the tank, and this is the end that connects to the hand. Well, I was wrong. The bulge in the cable is closer to the tank than the hand, and I think I got my order wrong, if I'm being perfectly honest. I believe you should do this cable first, because you can see this one is actually kind of sitting on top of it. And so you definitely should do B4 or A4 first, especially B4. I think A4 gets less close, but do this one first, and then do this cable that connects to the inner part of the right hand. But those are all... I thought this was nice and cured. Okay, I'm going to fiddle with it until it's done, and then we'll review the model. Put them on a base, 40 mil. Arik Schottmer is done, and I'll give you one guess as to the most difficult part of this mini. Yes, hooray, it's the freaking cables. The cables are hard. Patience is the name of the game. Now that I've shown you where they need to go, and you've seen his butt, you can have a good idea how to fit things in. You just got to do very little nudges here and there to get both ends to line up where they're supposed to go. And doing them in the order I showed you, with the exception of the ones going to the left arm being reversed, will be helpful as well. I think I bent the stupid release valve thing on top. I'll fix that, but yep, he's done. Oh, I can go ahead and show you what he looks like standing up. A lot of people choose to put him in the kneeling pose because he looks sort of weird flat-footed if you just put his right foot flat on the ground. What you really need to do is have him like jumping off of something. It looks a lot cooler. Alright, let's move on to the minions. Our Freikorpsmann, the original 2 from 2nd edition, split right down this way. We will do Freikorpsmann 1, and then Freikorpsmann 2, and then obviously Freikorpsmann 3. So, for this guy, fairly simple build. Grab the body, do the right leg, and then we will add the backpack. The holster on his left hip, the left arm holding the knife, the right... Before we do the arm, we'll do the chest piece, which goes right in here. Then we'll do the left arm holding the knife, the right arm holding the gun, and then the head. Let's look at the instructions for the 2 of them, and then get started with this piece and this piece. You got a body, now the right leg. He's lunging forward on that leg. Alright. Actually, let's do the holster before we do the backpack. The backpack is just going to make the holster just ever so slightly harder to install otherwise. So, holster and then backpack. You saw the hole where it went. and the tooth will guide you to this specific angle. Alright, backpack time. The backpack is bulgier at the top than the bottom. That's the orientation you're looking for. Next is our chest piece. I'm gonna go right here. And the vents on it, these little slats, will be sort of angled upwards. So right now it's kind of upside down. Okay. There we go. Now, the left arm holding the knife. Looks good. Now the right arm holding the pistol. Okay, it took a little finagling to get in there, just make sure the seam is nice and closed, and the shoulder isn't sitting up or down too much, but I feel like it's important to have the backpack on there because it does connect to the backpack as well. Alright, give him a head. Okay, our first Freikorpsmann is completed. Let's put him on a base. Our first Freikorpsmann is done. We're going to call this one Porsche. The hardest part for them was the chest piece was kind of fiddly, and I had a little bit of difficulty with the left arm because I chose to put that in after the backpack, but it wasn't too hard, I don't think. Actually, sorry, right arm because of the backpack, not the left one. My bad. But yeah, compared to the previous two models, it was super duper easy. Just had a few tiny pieces I had to deal with. Alright, let's move on. Our second Freikorpsmann going to come together in a very similar fashion. We'll grab the body and then do the left leg, the right leg, followed by the chest piece, the backpack, the left arm, the right arm, and then the head. Alright, here's the body. Now the left leg, which is the straighter one. Great. Now our right leg, the slightly bent knee. Cool. Alright, now our chest piece, it does have some tubes coming off of it. Those tubes need to be going down versus up, and you see where they will connect on the sides. There it is, and the tubes connect. Cool. Now our backpack. Same as before, the bulgy part is at the top. Alright, the knife arm, the left arm, attach it in there, you know, where arms normally go. I believe you can connect it to the backpack, although in this case it might have been smarter to do the arm first before the backpack. It was just a little weird getting it in there. But now let's do our right arm, the one holding the pistol. There we go. That's the angle you're looking for. You do have some folds in the cloth that will match up with the arm on the body. Okay, head. And there's also tubes coming off of that should attach to the tubes that are coming off the neck. Alright, put them on a base. Our second Freikorpsmann is completed. We're going to name this one Volkswagen. Hardest part for him, the chest piece again, and we'll say the left arm with the knife, just because of its interaction with the backpack. But so much easier than the totem and the henchman. I'm not going to complain too much. Let's work on our last one now. Our nice, shiny new 3rd edition Freikorpsmann is going to be the easiest, it seems. We will just clip out the body and actually first do the chest piece. The tube coming off of it will be going under his left side. After that, we can do the right arm, which is pulling out the knife for once. Hey, that might be left-handed. Cool. And that will connect the blade across his butt right here. After that, we will grab the left arm that is holding the pistol. You can see the big, long connection point on his chest. And we'll finish with the backpack and then the head. Alright? So, let's actually look at the instructions. There's separate instructions for this one. Sorry, let's look at the instructions. Grab E3 followed by E1. E3, now E1 of the chest piece. There we go. Now, The left arm, sorry, the right arm, which is going to be E5, it'll connect up in the shoulder, and the knife will connect across the butt. All right, there's the arm. Now let's do the left arm, which will be covering up this long connection point. There is E4, the left arm. Now let's do E2, the backpack. Voila. And E6, the head. Great. All done. Put 'em on a base. Our third Freikorpsmann is done. We're going to call him Bayerische Motorenwerke. My best pronunciation of that. I'm losing my goddamn mind. Anyways. Easy model. Hardest part was the chest piece, just because it's the smallest bit. Easiest model in this entire box. This accursed box. But we're all done, so let's look at the whole thing and review it. The Von Schill Core box is done, containing Von Schill, the steam trunk, Arik Schottmer, and 3 Freikorpsmann, and I got the thing spinning in the wrong direction. I don't care at this point. It's a hard box. One of the hardest boxes in the game. Sadly, it's a core box. And I feel like Von Schill is one of those things where it'd probably be attractive to a lot of people because it's one of the few like army type keywords in the game, but this is gonna be hard to get past for a lot of people. So hardest parts, easily the steam trunk, specifically the lid and the tubes on Arik. Really, the lid and the tubes aren't necessarily for the entirety of the model. You can probably not play with them and they would look okay. So that is my suggestion if you don't want to deal with the assembly. And I guess a friendly reminder that these are tiny bits, at least on the 2nd edition models. Do the trick where you grab them with your thumb and forefinger before you clip them out with your nippers. Make sure they don't go rocketing across the room and being lost forever. Please do that. Okay. I'm done. I'm gonna go lay down now, I think. I have been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Best of luck.